Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my job shop. My name is Keith, and we're in here back on Pearl. I've got the headstock up here. You can see we've started priming and bringing the finish and prepping the outside for painting. And yes, we are going to go ahead and put a new paint job on this whole thing. The more I cleaned up on components and parts, the more the layers were flaking off. And if they're not secure, you're not going to get a decent rat rod paint job out of it, which was my first thought, but that has changed. Okay, it's not just girls that can do that. Anyway, we have two new things. Well, one, we're working on Pearl again. I guess that's new. Actually, I have another video that'll be another avenue or another part that we're working on here. But I have working on Pearl, and we have a new project here, and I also have the pleasure of sharing a new piece of equipment that I purchased, and it's a Waterjet. It's the Wazer. Now, Wazer has sponsored my purchase for this, but I'm not here to do a review for Wazer on this. All I'm doing is sharing, just like everything else that I have in the shop here, because I'm a job shop. My videos are sharing my machines and my talent on my customers' projects. And also, when I'm rebuilding something like this, we're going to be using it as well. So we are going to be in the other room there where I have the Wazer set up, and we're going to be using the Wazer for our project. All right, what's our project? Well, we've got 3 out of the 4 shafts in this gearbox that are set up with cup and cone bearings at each end, and they need to be set up so that they have the proper preload. And how do you set that preload? Well, the cups one sits in a fixed location in the gearbox, and the other end is held in. Let's just take this one right here. I'm not sure which one this is. This might be the secondary shaft. Anyway, this surface right here pushes in. It's not matching this one here, but you get the idea. That register right there pushes in on the shaft, and the flange tightens all the way against the gearbox. To adjust that surface that's contacting that cup on the bearing, you shim the outside surface that makes contact with the outside of the case. You adjust this thickness right here for the amount of pressure against that cup of the bearing, which when you lock it all in, it creates a certain amount of preload. A preload is a little more pressure than just being there, meaning when this gets up to the cup, that's there, and then a little bit more is preload, and then you measure that preload by the amount of torque it takes to rotate that shaft. And we'll get into that when we get into putting these together, and we're probably going to assemble each and every one of these shafts together, because I want a planned preload per shaft assembly. And then once we know what they are, then we'll go for the final assembly. We already know what the shim pack is going to be in there. We always had the feeling ever since I've purchased the plasma cam. And one of the first things that you find out and you get disappointed on is the detail that the plasma cam can cut, and pertaining to small holes and maintaining the roundness and straight wall on the side of your part and stuff like that. I realized the benefits of what water jetting was putting out as far as their finished products. Of course, the expense on enormous water jet machine was out of my budget line. Anyway, the Wazer came along, and it's in my budget. And also too, I'm not looking to do giant parts, so things like this project here and many more to come, I'm going to share the performance of that Wazer and how it gets the job done for me here in the shop. This shim here is not always the same thickness. They usually have sets of shims to shim bearings, and even if anybody's ever done, or I'm going to say most motorheads have come into the need to put together a differential or a rear end or other mechanical components where they've got to shim bearings and or shim end play. And so you've purchased a kit to go and put the thing together, and you'll end up getting a shim pack, which is basically the shim you need to put in place, but in a variety of sizes or thicknesses. What I've done, because I want to be able to, I created videos to customer awareness. All right, so this is one customer awareness project, and and here I'm even stating this before I've even cut the first one. So I'm going to be optimistic. All right, and but I would love to add this to a service in my job shop here. So anyway, I've purchased 15-piece color plastic shim set, because sometimes you do need to have plastic shims, and sometimes you need to have brass shims, and sometimes you want stainless steel shims, and sometimes you want brass shims. Well, I've ordered a kit of each, and we have 3 different. This one here looked like it was plastic, but you flip it over and it's actually brass, and I think that one's brass as well. So we got this 4-holer, this 4-holer with a flat on it, and then this 4-holer with another flat on it. Now the main spindle bearing has got its self-adjusting preload with a double nut, on the tail end of the spindle itself. Okay, so we got one here. The shim packs that I'm going to be cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut one in each material, and we're going to be setting them up and sandwiching them between acrylic material here to help hold things together. And so we're going to be setting this up, and the first thing I got to do is I got to create the CAD drawing for these individual shapes. So I'm going to draw that up, and then we're going to put it into what the Wazer uses is the WAM program. WAM is just CAM. It's actually the G-code creator for the machine, and then we'll go plug in the SD card into the side of the machine, and then it's going to cut the project out. All right, so I've got to wash my hands. I've got to clean these up a little bit, and I got to get some dimensions, and I'm going to draw it out real quick. All right, we took our caps that needed to have the shims, and we got our dimensions off of there. We wrote those down. Then we took our computer and Fusion 360 and we drew it out, and we took that file and then we inserted into WAM, which is the G-code creator for the Wazer, and that's how we're getting our design in on the tabletop there to cut out. All right, you're looking at the part on the platform in the Wazer, and this is the nozzle here. This is a rubber shield right here to keep stuff from blowing up here. I'm already set, ready to start the cut here. So let me back you out here so that you can actually see in relationship to the area in my shop. It's just right between the door walking through here and the first column of the vehicle lift here. This is the pack of stainless shim. The shim thickness was about 80 thousandths, and there's two settings for 63, and then it jumps up to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm running it on 63 and I'm running it on fine. That way it'll be a little bit slow, but if it was a gauge a little bit more thickness, logically that would be closer to the rough cut for its thickness. Now I have a piece of acrylic on top and bottom sandwiching those together, and in the program they have tabs just like the plasma cam has, so I have it set. I don't know if it's enough of a tab or not. This is my first time doing this, so we're gonna give it a shot. So this is supposed to run in about 55 minutes. So I'm gonna put this down and we're gonna hit good. Here we go. Okay, they cut through. It's really, you're not going to see much more than that. I can't see too much more than that myself right here. So it's basically when we stop, or if we have any incidents of the part there, which I wouldn't expect any issues with it. But we'll see. Okay, that hole is done. It did leave a little tab there, so all the pieces are staying right there. Whoops. Stop. The material hose just popped out. Now it's actually cutting the inside circle out after the first hole, but you can see the first hole right there. And you can see the tab there about 12 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock there. A little bit of bubbling underneath the acrylic top sheet there. We'll see. Let's rinse this off a little bit here. See if we can do that. All right. This is a total fail. Or actually, we don't know if it's a total fail. I'm going to say this is a fail. All on my part here. Whether it can be salvageable or not is going to be another issue here. All right, and we can go ahead and move that out of the way. This screw here popped loose, so it wasn't holding this down. I did not spray adhesive the layering of this project, and the proof is that this swelled up all the way around, probably between multiple layers here, because that pressure of that garnet dispersed underneath different layers, I believe. This is kind of proof in the pudding. I ran the short screws on most of this right here. I'm probably going to start using the longer screws because I think they actually hold in here. Of course, we're working multiple layers, so I've had two real successful cuts with this, but it was only working one layer, so I'm jumping right into the extreme. But that's me. I'm all or nothing. I'm going to jump into it anyway. All right, we got those out. All right, let's peel off our layers here. That's the acrylic layer. Now I had an issue once it came over here and that popped up. I had backfeeding on the suction line, and so when it started I had a little gap there, and if all I have to do is trim that, that's gonna be okay in my book as well. All the holes are 100%, and that's a little tab I programmed in there leaving. See, now this tab here, I should have left 2 in on this, and then we could have taken this. There's an issue right there where it didn't cut through there, and I think I stopped and started there as well. All right, and we're going to take our snips and snip that there, and it looks like we're going to have a usable shim right there. Let's see how far down the pack it went. And we're going to go ahead and throw these in a tub of water and rinse them off as well. There's the next one. There's the next one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 layers plus the shim we put on the other side. Now here's the other thick one that's on the other side. Same thing, the holes there. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna just rinse this off right here. Hey, for totally being a screw up on this project setup here, there's the last layer, and it looks like it may be a usable gasket as well, or a shim, I should say. We'll pop this out, we'll trim that, we'll clean these all up, and we'll test fit these on the flange. All right, we're going to get this cleaned up so we can get on to our next one, and we're going to go grab some spray adhesive, and we're going to see if we can better the outcome. Very promising, even with a mess up. We went down, I went down on my bike as well. But we rode into Hyannis, and I wanted to hit Home Depot. I had to return some extra materials that I purchased to install the Wazer. And anyhow, I had this on the shelf, this Duro spray, and I kind of use this for my paper on the granite or flat surface there. But I know it doesn't always work well, and this is a real old can, so I said, let's go get some 3M Super 77 multi-purpose adhesive. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray our layers. Now we're going to do a brass cut on here. Our stainless, even though I messed that up, it's salvageable. We're going to go ahead and lay out 2 shims here, the one with a flat on it and the next size down. So these are our two smaller shafts here. We're going to start off with a piece of acrylic on the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and spray our layers. We're going to put them together, and then we're going to go put them in a press, and we're going to put some pressure on here so we sandwich the things right on out flat. We're hoping after we cut these things out that we can submerge them in acetone or mineral spirits and pull them back apart like this thickness here. Or we might have a beautiful cut, right, and then we can't get them apart. That's all part of the learning curve right here, right now. Oh, that wasn't even the thinnest one. I'm putting the thin ones down in the center of this this whole process here. I think this is the thinnest one right here. This might be the 2000. I think I'm going to go ahead and go like this because I do not think that if I stick it to that table there that we're going to have any luck getting that off of there. And this is the top one here. All right, I don't know why I would really need to add this on here, but I will put a layer of acrylic on the top of it. Okay, I'm going to go put this in the press and put some pressure on it. Okay, we're letting that sit under a little pressure there, and then we'll be pulling it out and we'll be setting it up to make our second test cut with laminated or layered shim stock. Pressure really squeeze that thing together. I mean, it's equal, and that's within 2 thousandths all the way around here in thickness. So I'm going to say we're going to be able to hold this thing down, and we're going to have a uniform cut, whereas before with the sand or garnet, I should say, I mean it's a form of granular material, the garnet was getting in between the layers and making it raise up, and it gave me an issue with the distance between the nozzle and the part. And when you lose that, then you create back pressure on the suction line for the granular material to go in there. And I had a couple malfunctions, but I was able to clear it out and adjust at least somewhat to get done with that project, minus about 1/4 of an inch on the outside of that cut, which we can cut with scissors or the shear I have here. All right, let me get this bolted down here, and then we're going to give these two a test run with this laminated piece right here. This is kind of the location, give or take, at this area right in here. I'm within the outline of what we got. This is probably going to crowd real close up to here, and this is going to crowd up here. This might have a little bit more area up here. Oh yeah, a little no-see-um. You want to stay in there? I don't think so. Okay, so that's basically where we're going to be cutting these two out of. Okay, this is nice. This is not bulging like the other one was. Just bolting it down with the screws, where you just kind of like hold the edge of the edge of your sheet onto your platform, and then the height, head, and everything else clears these perfectly fine. So anyway, we've got the file in here now, and we're going to turn on our machine here. Okay, it's home in the machine, and then it's coming over to where we can set our height here. All right, now we'll be able to set the height of our place right there. Here we go, let's see. Okay, late last night we finished up and I left it the way it was. We did push the nozzle over here. We came real close to this side right here, so it actually kind of relieved some of the pressure, and this actually broke free right here. And the stack up is still pretty close packed together, but most of the glue has separated with minimal amount of material in between here. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to wash this up. And this one here, I think is in here still pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this and remove this, wash these up, and then we're going to go in there to the gearbox of Pearl and take a look at our finished products. All right, let's see how we did with our shim packs, okay? This is the first one we're going to look at, because this was the shim pack that we started with and we didn't glue it together, and it almost became an abortion, but it really is a usable shim pack still. All right, let me of course we have a tab here that we have to cut off. Now let me just, okay, let's just see, can I just snip that across there? Yes, we can. Okay. All right. Still a good usable shim pack, even though we nearly had a catastrophe. And the rest of them all look the same. All right, so we're going to set those off to the side here. And there is the original one there. Actually, even holding that up to the original one. All right. Now, our second event, we went ahead and we glued these together. And the first one, the first pack that was cut, was the smaller one with the flat on it. And that completely stayed together intact and laying in there. Through this process here, I let the WAM program dictate a minimum amount of tab to hold things in there. And of course I know that I can make that tab a little bit greater to make it really become effective in the design here. The second side here is I misgauged my center location, and that's it. This is my learning curve with machine, just like any other machine that I'd be learning. Anyway, we've proven that gluing the items together, and we're going to play with more amount of glue, because we know that even the amount of glue we had and we pressed it together, if this wouldn't have been close to the side, this was a near perfect scenario for laminating multiple sheets of shim stock here. And I believe I have like 11 layers in here. All right, how did those fare to fit on here? And I'm probably, they're still glued, and I'm gonna drop this cluster right in. We're gonna take this one right here. This is the fat one on the end. We're gonna drop this cluster right into a tub of acetone here. And we're going to let it We're going to let it eat up that glue right there, and then we'll be able to pull those things apart here in a little bit. Now we can go ahead and we can break the center out of here. The little tabs are holding pretty much on this one here, and this one was the smaller and the first one before the breakaway on the other side there. And we'll pull these, actually the clear is still glued to that little dot right there. That's pretty cool. And these just break away. Alright, and still has a little tiny bit of grit and glue on this side here. It's not, actually let me slosh it right in this. Oh yeah, that's enough to wipe it clean. That's going to break those loose, I'm pretty sure. No problem. Alright. And this is our piece right here. There we go. And our original shim, I think I left it in the other room there. Let me go grab it. I grabbed the next one as well. Original, manufactured, or new. Alright, now our last shim pack here. We got a fatty right there all by itself. We're going to throw this in that same tub. And we're going to rinse that one. Okay, we'll break that out loose. Original, new. All right, we're going to conclude this video with a happy note for sure. We're capable of making our shims needed to shim our gearbox back together in my desired preload abilities or decisions on that when we go to put that together. And that's it's a little ways off doing that, but we want to be prepared for it, just like purchasing the bearings, the motor, and as we go along we want everything in-house ready to assemble this thing, because when we get on that roll of assembling nobody's going to want to stop. I definitely am not going to want to stop. And this is very, very promising. This not only helped me right here on this gearbox, but now I can cut shim packs for you. All right, until the next video, get her done.